Before we even start the epic journey, please like and subscribe to show appreciation for my effort. Without wasting a single second, let's dive in.
At dawn, the plain holds its breath. Iron ranks stand unbroken. The Macedonian wedge, tense, sharp, inevitable, waiting for a single strike to break empires. A shout without words. Alexander drives forward. Hooves thunder, spears drop, and the wedge becomes a living blade cutting toward destiny. Steel collides with flesh and will. Spears splinter, shields rupture. The line buckles. Alexander's fury driving the storm into Persian ranks. The storm crashes, but the phalanx does not move. Spears bristle, shields lock. Men breathe as one wall of iron holding history in place. Amid chaos, Alexander carves forward. Every stroke is precise, relentless, his presence a vortex, the battlefield bending to his blade. Pride unravels into panic. Standards fall, ranks fracture, and the vast Persian line dissolves, its collapse written in dust and fear. In a single soldier's eyes, the empire's fate is mirrored. Terror trembles, a spear slips, and fear becomes the seed of rout. Darius grips the reins of a crumbling crown. His chariot lurches, guards scatter, regal poise collapsing into trembling flight. The king flees, his army shatters. Dust swallows the golden chariot, while Alexander watches, not with joy, but with the weight of empire. Silence claims the field. Standards rise through smoke, treasure glitters among the fallen. Alexander rides slow, victory carved in ash and memory. From shore to sea, Alexander builds the impossible. Timber and stone dragged into the waves, a bridge of fire and blood stretching toward Tyre's unyielding walls. The island fortress shatters, walls breached, streets in chaos, ships aflame. Tyre falls, and with it, the last Phoenician jewel is seized by Macedon. Through desert heat and endless dunes, Alexander reaches the Nile. Welcomed as pharaoh, he is crowned among gods, and Alexandria is born from the sands. Across storms and silence, Alexander enters Siwa. In shadowed halls, the oracle speaks, son of Zeus, a destiny sealed beneath eternal desert skies. At Gaugamela, the world holds its breath, Persia's might against Macedon's steel. Alexander's wedge cuts deep, and Darius flees into dust. Across plains and burning camps, Alexander chases empire itself. Yet he arrives too late, Darius betrayed, dying, and Persia left without a king. Persepolis, crown of Persia, opens its gates. Riches blaze in torchlight, then in fire. In one night, the empire's jewel turns to ash. From marriage to armies, Alexander forges a new bond. Persian and Macedonian, uneasy but entwined. Unity demanded, a single empire envisioned. Over frozen peaks and burning plains, the army marches east. New lands, new peoples, and beyond the horizon, the world still unfinished. Amid storm and flood, elephants thunder against spears. Alexander and Porus meet in mud and blood. Enemies in battle, equals in honor. As the Hydaspes rages in storm, Alexander drives his men through the night. Cloaked in lightning, he leads the crossing, while Porus's scouts remain blind. At dawn, steel meets thunder. Elephants crash the phalanx, cavalry cuts the mud, and Alexander charges headlong into chaos. The ground shakes as elephants smash the ranks. Alexander wheels wide, striking Porus's weakness. King against king, will against will. By dusk, the field lies broken. Porus, bleeding yet unbowed, faces Alexander. Mercy halts the spears. King meets king in honor. Victory brings no peace. Alexander burns for conquest, while weary soldiers whisper of home. The storm now brews within the army. The plains fade behind them. Through mountains and wastelands they march on, broken yet unyielding, into the crucible of Central Asia. In silence, fire and blood erupt. Resistance strikes from shadows, and Alexander answers with flame, leaving only ashes behind. Across desert, thirst breaks the men, yet when enemies descend, they rally again. Steel clashing in sand, survival etched in blood. On cliffs none dared, Alexander climbs first. At dawn, the fortress falls in fire. No wall, no mountain halts his ambition.
Through ruins, Alexander walks alone. Each conquest brings less glory, more ghosts. His banner still flies, but the land is endless. Across endless plains, Alexander's army endures dust, heat, and whispers of unseen foes. Yet his gaze eastward never falters. Scythian riders strike like phantoms, vanishing before combat. Alexander sees brute force alone cannot claim victory. Parched and broken, the army falters. Alexander pours away the last water, turning despair into fierce loyalty. By night, men climb sheer cliffs under arrows. At dawn, Macedonian banners crown the heights, impossible made real. Among silks and spices, wary eyes watch Alexander. By day's end, Bactra stands as his stronghold of east and west. Alexander takes Roxana's hand, a union of love and empire. Celebration swells as conquest turns to alliance. Arrows and boulders crash from the cliffs. Amid chaos, Alexander rallies. Victory won in blood-soaked stone. Torches set the night aflame. As the town burns to ash, Alexander stands silent before conquest's cost. On barren soil, Alexander lays a cornerstone. Alexandria Iskate rises, the empire's furthest reach made stone. Alexander stands against the fading sun. His army longs for rest, but his eyes seek worlds beyond.
The Macedonian column marches into a boundless sea of grass. No rivers, no villages, only wind where even scouts vanish like ghosts. Scythian horsemen strike like smoke, vanish like wind. Macedonian steel finds only dust, as the steppe dictates war without collision. By night, the camp burns with firelight, but the darkness beyond swarms with unseen riders, an army trapped in a circle of ghosts. Snow devours the steppe, freezing breath and breaking men. Even conquerors stumble, as the earth itself rises to drive them back. The river groans beneath the clash of steel. Men slip, ice shatters, and frozen waters claim the fallen in silence eternal. From golden waves of grass, riders erupt, circling, vanishing, striking again. Chaos without front, Macedonian stranded in a tide of hooves. Across the fire, silence speaks louder than words. Gifts are exchanged, but trust is thin. Peace hangs on a thread as fragile as wind. Day after day, Alexander chases shadows, the enemy always ahead, the land mocking pursuit, until even kings bow to exhaustion. At dawn, the mist splits with thunder. Riders strike, tents fall, steel collides. But when dust clears, only silence and death remain. Here at the world's edge, the steppe stretches forever. Alexander stares into infinity, torn between retreat and conquest without end.
They march beyond all maps, across bones and dust. Towers shimmer ahead, yet Alexander's gaze never wavers. A fortress of silk and steel rises. Engines thunder, fire rains, and Alexander hurls his will against it. Gates burn, walls scream with arrows. Still Alexander climbs, shield raised, the frontier shatters. A jade river divides worlds. Arrows rain as Alexander storms ashore, sword lifted against waiting spears. The desert devours water, men, hope. Yet Alexander drinks last, walks first, the army staggers on. Silk and blood spill as horsemen strike. Camels fall, merchants scream, Alexander's spears lock tight. In smoke and fire, the oracle warns of floods, dragons, and kneeling kings. Destiny coils tighter. Armies collide like continents. Steel crashes, dust swallows sun. Neither line breaks, worlds locked in war. From frozen peaks, Alexander sees endless valleys. Roads of silk, thrones of jade, dreams outmatched. By firelight, generals clash, soldiers falter, Alexander rises. Fury and sorrow bound, legend straining.
At the river, Alexander calls east. Spears strike the ground, his army already turning away. In the torchlit tent, rage shakes the king. Alone he storms into the night, defying destiny. At dawn, banners fall. Soldiers march west, and Alexander follows, silent, unyielding. Under burning sun, men collapse. Alexander pours away water, pride their only drink. Through icy peaks, soldiers vanish in snow. Alexander drags men free. Conquest becomes survival. In desert heat, soldiers cast down arms. Alexander forces the march, discipline scattering like sand. Among blackened ruins, Alexander halts. The fire he lit still smolders, an empire's ghost. Cups raised, whispers stir. A soldier falls, eyes turn to Alexander, suspicion thick as poison. Night falls silent, daggers hidden, whispers spread. The empire itself holds its breath. In the dim tent, he recalls his conquests. Alone, the map stretches endless, silence his crown.
Babylon cheers its conqueror, but behind the glitter, eyes harden. The city welcomes him, even as it whispers betrayal. A banquet of gold and silence. Generals smile with empty cups, hands on daggers. Every toast trembles. Joy is poison, loyalty a lie. In Babylon's halls, whispers coil like smoke. Behind doors, allies fracture. Shadows conspire, and the empire listens. Beside the throne, a void. Alexander's gaze lingers on the empty chair. The court shifts uneasily. Power trembles where love once stood. Gold falls at soldiers' feet, but cannot mend scars of war. Anger swells, loyalty cracks, trust fades in the king's shadow. Betrayal unfolds in ink. The letter burns to ash, fire lingering in his eyes. Alexander sits silent, already plotting retribution. Storm clouds crown the ziggurats. Priests whisper doom in smoke and blood. The king dismisses fear, yet thunder speaks truth. Around the table, empire splinters, maps scarred by fists and daggers. Alexander's silence looms, the kingdom already breaking. A blade glimmers in darkness, creeping toward the king's heart. The dagger falls, and with it, loyalty's last veil. Alone with his maps, Alexander weighs war and destiny. Sleepless eyes burn, haunted not abroad, but within Babylon.
On Babylon's floor, Alexander spreads the world before him, lines drawn beyond the known, shadows stretching where only his will dares go. Hammers echo on the riverbanks, ships rising like forests of ambition, as Babylon builds not for trade, but for seas no man has crossed. Envoys watch as Alexander trains men for deserts and storms, his hand striking maps with fury, marching where even gods would falter. Alone by lamplight, he turns a Roman coin, visions of legions falling, banners rising. Already Rome bends in his gaze. Roman envoys kneel, their words cautious, their eyes afraid. For Alexander does not hear treaties, only the promise of conquest. Under a sun that shatters men, Alexander forges them anew. Iron wills, tempered not in bronze, but in the fury of the desert. Priests whisper omens of death from the west, but Alexander steps into the storm unshaken, defiant even against the gods. The Euphrates swells with ships, sails like wings of destiny. At the prow, Alexander stares toward horizons no empire has yet claimed. His generals rage and divide, but Alexander's silence cuts deeper than words. Unyielding, he stands alone against their doubt. Atop Babylon's heights, he spreads his arms to the blazing horizon. Ships, armies, empires, all within his grasp, yet never enough.
Babylon feasts in fire and wine. Yet as laughter swells, Alexander falters. His smile tightens, and shadows creep into the hall. At dawn, the conqueror burns with fever. Whispers spread, physicians despair. Yet his hand clings to the bed, refusing surrender. The camp falls still. Soldiers wait, messengers hurry. Inside, Alexander's lips move without sound, his voice lost, command abandoned. Priests chant, citizens weep. In his chamber, Alexander shivers, eyes opening briefly, as if hearing prayers too far to answer. Armored steps echo through the palace. Outside his chamber, generals circle like wolves. Inside, their king feels the shadows closing in. He whispers of Rome, of oceans unconquered, visions blaze, yet his reaching hand closes only on empty air. Soldiers lay down arms in silence. From his bed, Alexander raises a hand. His army bows, their grief unspoken. He whispers, "To the strongest." Silence follows. Empire itself trembles beneath the weight of those final words. A shallow breath, a fleeting smile, then stillness. The conqueror surrenders, silence heavier than all his victories. Babylon mourns. On a golden bier he departs. Torches flicker like stars, his empire already trembling in his absence.
In Babylon, ambition collides with loyalty. Generals shout, soldiers tense, and the empty throne speaks louder than any man. Perdiccas claims the regency, his hand on the sword. The whole trembles, chaos rising. Roxana fears her child's crown may already be lost. The army waits in the sun, promises whispered like bribes. Loyalty fractures, voices split, and Alexander's dream shatters before their eyes. A child is born, Alexander's heir. Cheers fill the chamber, yet behind the smiles betrayal lurks. Roxana weeps with hope and dread. Maps are carved like flesh. Egypt, Persia, Macedon, all claimed by fists and daggers. The empire burns, not united, but devoured. Ptolemy marches into Egypt, cloaking ambition in ritual. Alexander's corpse becomes his crown, sanctified, yet exploited for power. Seleucus takes Persia, ashes of conquest beneath his hand. Nobles bow with resentment, soldiers plunder, and the throne cracks from within. In Macedon, Antipater rules by fear. Blood in the mud, whispers in the halls, his shadow long, yet always eclipsed by Alexander's ghost. The successors clash, elephants crush, phalanxes break, banners burn. Brothers in arms no more, the empire is torn apart in blood and fire. The empire lies broken. Generals seize fragments, kingdoms rise in flames. Roxana clings to her son, innocent, yet marked by a doomed inheritance.
If you felt the clash of steel and fury of battle in this epic journey, like and subscribe to Old Men History. Click on the left video to watch life during Plague Era, or click the right video to watch how Vikings invaded the Europe. Until next time.